Hello, welcome to the Culinary Scene Kitchen. And today we're going to be doing an introduction to the Wolf Convection Steam Oven, where I'm just going to go over some of the modes, what comes with it, and stuff like that. But just to start off, if you go to the chat and you have any questions during the demo, Kelsey's behind on the computer and she'll be able to answer any of your questions or ask me questions to answer throughout the demo. So you're just going to have to put that in the chat and then we will answer those whenever they come in, or I'll make sure to ask if there's any more towards the end of the demo. So first I just want to go over what the steam oven comes with and kind of wake it up and get it started. So first you'll just hit it and it'll kind of wake up the screen. So the steam oven will come with a few different kinds of pans. You'll have your roasting pan that comes with a rack for it. You will have your perforated pan. This is going to be great for any kind of steaming. This is the rack that goes with that roasting pan. Then you will also get a solid pan that goes with it. You will also have a temperature probe that I will go over in just a few moments. Along with those pans, you will also get a rack. So these racks can be adjusted. You have 3 full extension racks, and then you have 1 standard rack right here on the top. Your Wolf Convection Steam Oven can come in 2 different sizes, whether you want the 30-inch that we have here, or you can get a 24-inch cavity to make sure you can put it anywhere in your kitchen and customize it to your own kitchen. There are 3 different lights in here to make sure you can see whenever you are cooking. So you're going to be able to see anything that you need. With your 30-inch steam oven, you will now have dual convection. Because of the bigger cavity, you're going to get the dual convection to where the air is always moving when you're using the convection, and you're not going to have to worry about any dead zones in your oven. Now there are 2 ways to get water to your convection steam oven. You can either get a plumbed version or you can get the tank version. Either way, they will have a tank because you're going to use this for descaling. Because there is water, you will have to descale. With the tank version, you put just regular tap water in the tank. This is going to give you about 40 fluid ounces of water, and it will run for 2 hours continuously on steam without having to worry about filling the tank. With the plumbed version, you are going to need water that comes in, and there is a drain. So you're going to need incoming water and a drain that goes out for any of the plumbed versions. So now I want to kind of get into some of the different modes on a convection steam oven. A lot of times when people think steam, they just think of moist environment cooking. They don't think of the crispiness. But there's multiple modes on this machine, and it can do just about anything. So we're going to get into the steam to begin with. When you're on steam, you're going to have a steam temperature between 86 degrees and 210 degrees. So at the 86, you're thinking about something about trying to put in a frozen chicken breast or something like that to thaw it out. It's going to help take that thaw time down a little bit instead of running gallons and gallons of water over it or letting it sit out on a counter, which can be not good for time and temperature. You can put it right in your convection steam oven at that lower temperature, and you're going to be able to thaw it without cooking it. Because I know you've wanted to thaw something quickly before, put it in the microwave, it starts thawing. Even on the thaw process, sometimes you'll get a little bit of cooking on the outside. Because it's right at that precise temperature, you won't have to worry about that cooking on the outside, but it also thawing. Now when you get up to that 210 degree steam, that's when your convection steam oven is almost like a pot of boiling water. You can steam fish, you can steam chicken, you can steam eggs, anything that you'd want to steam, do in a pot of boiling water, you would almost be able to do right in a steam oven. The only thing I would stay away from is something that needs water, like dried pasta. But I have done fresh pasta right in the convection steam oven. So then when we go over to convection, you're going to have a temperature range between 85 to 445 degrees. And there's going to be no steam injected. So you're going to be able to use your steam oven just like you would be able to use a regular convection oven. And one good thing about it is because it's a little bit smaller of a cavity than your full M or E series oven, it does heat up much quicker because it is the smaller cavity. Still got that high-powered cooking elements, but it doesn't have to fill as much of the cavity to heat up. So for convection, you're going to be great for any of your multi-rack cooking. You could do a couple layers of cookies. You're going to be able to do anything on multi-layers, anything you would do in a regular convection oven. Now, when you go into this convection, on the nice touch screen, you could do regular convection, you could do convection steam or convection humid. So convection steam is going to be the combination of that convection heat and the steam. So those water molecules help transfer that heat a little bit quicker than just regular dry heat. You think about putting your hand into boiling water that's only 212 degrees or 210 degrees. You can't put your hand right into boiling water without it burning horribly. But if you had a oven that is at 400 degrees convection, you can reach in and grab something out. Yes, it's going to be hot, but because there's no moisture, it's not going to burn as quickly. So when you do this convection steam, it's putting steam in the cavity above that 210 degrees. So you can be doing 450 or 445 degrees convection steam, and you're going to be able to roast chicken in here with nice crispy skin at a quicker time than you would in regular convection. And that moisture helps keep moisture in your food as well to help keep the flavor in. With the convection humid, what's the difference between convection steam, convection humid? I get that a lot. Your convection humid is going to be a mode that actually traps in anything that comes out of your food. So it's not injecting any steam into the cavity of your oven, but it is sealing it up. It's not forcing any air out to where, say you were cooking something like a meatloaf or a lasagna, something you usually cover for the first duration and then uncover. All of that moisture is going to stay in the cavity of the oven so that you don't have to worry about it drying out. So you might see a little steam when you open it up when you're cooking on something like convection humid, but it is not adding any steam. That is all steam and flavor coming out of your food that it's holding in the oven and trying to help promote keeping some of that flavor in your food. Now, the convection steam oven also has a 1750 watt broil unit, which has 10 layers here up and down to where it gets a nice even broil. So your broil unit will have regular broil and convection broil. There will be, on the regular broil, you will have high, medium, or low, which it is a high-powered unit to where you can broil anything from steaks to toasting bread with that broil unit. With the convection broil, you actually enter in your temperature. So you can then turn on those fans. You can get that heat nice from the top. All the heat's coming from the top, but that fan is then turned on, and it will then move around the air so you can get a nice even browning. Now you think about maybe cooking just some chicken breast in there, some thin chicken breast on it with that broil. You're going to be able to get a nice crispy skin on there, especially if it's something thin that you don't want to cook for a long period of time. Or if you wanted to do some miso glazed sea bass broiled, put that on a pan with a little white wine and butter. That convection is going to help just even it out a little bit, move that heat around to where it's coming from all directions, but mostly directly from the top. Then you could go into some of these gourmet modes. There's a gourmet mode for your Wolf convection steam oven. These are going to be chef-tested modes that go in, because I did just talk about all of these modes, the convection, steam. Now you're thinking, what mode do I need to use to cook this? That's what the gourmet mode is there for. If you go up and down, you're going to have different things like baked dishes, dairy products, desserts, eggs, meat, fish, poultry. If you go into something like meat, you're going to be able to go in, and this is a lot of time where your temperature probe will come into play. You can use it all the time. It plugs in right here in the left side, and this is going to then be inserted into your whatever you're cooking, and you'll be able to see the temperature. So let's just say we're under meat right now. So you got beef, lamb, pork. If we went into beef, it'll then go into what cut of beef you're going to use. So if you're doing shoulder, beef tenderloin, ribeye, a roast, you could go into beef tenderloin. It's going to use a mode called slow roast sear. What that's going to do, it's going to start it at a higher temperature, and then it's going to lower that temperature down and slow roast it for a duration of time. Once you go in, you're going to be able to pick what temperature you like it at. Say you wanted yours more mid-rare, you'd set it at mid-rare. That also gives you a bunch of different information. It's going to ask you to use rack position 2. The temperature probe is required. It's going to tell you to put it on the wire rack. So if you want to put it on your roasting pan with a wire rack. And then it's going to tell you what it's going to do here. It's going to ask you to remove your meat from the refrigerator an hour before cooking to help the cooking process. Place it directly on the wire rack, insert it on a solid pan liner. It's just going to give you all information on how to cook it so that you can, any questions you have, it can kind of answer that for you. So you just go to your temperature, and you're going to see there's 2 different temperatures. It's going to cook it for medium rare to 127 degrees, and then the second temperature is going to be your probe temperature. That's going to be what your internal temperature is, and then it'll also give you how long it's going to cook it and your end time. One good thing with the end time and duration, when you're cooking beef, you're going to be able to go in here, and you're actually going to be able to set different times. If you want to start later, you're going to be able to start it later. If you're going to want to cook it for a longer period of time, you can go in and put this end time at 6 o'clock. Set. It's still going to cook it for that 2 hours, but if I went ahead and put it in now, it'll delay start it and make sure it's done right when you want it to be done. Also a good thing with the steam oven, when it's done with this slow roast sear mode, it is done. You don't have to worry about resting it because the oven temperature and the temperature of the internal will be the same, so it will not carry over cook on the slow roast sear mode. I just want to talk a little bit about some of the other modes you have on here. So that was just different beef, lamb, and pork. Going back, one great thing that the convection steam oven will help you cook in your home better is bread. You can see I got a nice piece of bread here that we cooked earlier today. This was cooked in the steam oven. When you go in, there is a bread and pastry setting. And there's going to be multiple different kinds of bread when you get in here. There's a proof mode, so you can proof your bread whenever it tells you to get to that proofing cycle where it wants your dough to rise to double in size. You're going to be able to go to proof and put it right in your steam oven, and it'll get it to that optimal temperature for your yeast and your bread, your dough to rise. There is a flour dusted bread. There's glazed breads, and then there's classic bread. So with the classic bread, it uses a steam duration in the beginning to help set that crust and gives you a nice thick crust, and then it'll pull away that steam and cook on convection. I know a lot of times in bread recipes without a steam oven, they're always saying maybe put some ice cubes or try to spray water into your oven. With the steam oven, because it does have that water and can inject it in, you're not going to have to worry about that. It's going to automatically do that, and it really makes bread a lot easier to cook. It doesn't have to be something you got to be worried about cooking at home because it makes it easier in your Wolf convection steam oven. Now, another thing that a steam oven can do is it can replace some of your counter items, like I like to call them. So there is a sous vide mode to where you can go in and use your use your steam oven as a sous vide water bath. So if you've ever done any kind of sous vide cooking, you usually got one of the water baths that circulates the water and heats the water. But because you have your water in here, you're going to be able to go down and just hit your sous vide mode. It's going to use a steam duration. You're going to be able to set your temperature to what mode or what temperature you need it at. You can then put it in on your perforated rack, regular rack, in your vacuum sealed bag, and you're going to be able to sous vide with the steam right in your convection steam oven. So then you are taking that off your counter and not having to worry about having a water bath when you have one right here. Another thing that it can help replace, it doesn't have a microwave. You're still going to want a microwave if you use a microwave a lot, but it does have a reheat feature. So when you're doing reheat, you're going to be able to go in and hit your reheat button, and it's going to ask you whether you want to reheat on crispy, regular, or humid. So if you had something like chicken fingers that you were putting in, or fried chicken, you'd be able to reheat that on crispy and bring the food back to life. Instead of putting it in a microwave where it draws all of the moisture out, you're going to be able to pick whether if you want it on humid, you're going to be able to pick something. Say you wanted to reheat rice from the night before. I know that's not the greatest thing to do in the microwave. Sometimes it gets a little mushy. You got to add water to it. It's dry. With a steam oven, you can bring that back to life like it was just made the day of. So the reheat feature really brings your food back to life instead of just reheating it. There are also a few that you may not use a lot. One of the cool things about this touchscreen here, you can align whatever you would like to use or whatever modes you use the most. You can align those to where you can have them wherever you want. So say I don't use the slow roast as much, I can move that down. I can move over these gourmet modes. You can do up to 50 different customizable panel or little tiles. So say there is something like steamed rice that you do a lot and you want to put that in there, you're going to be able to go into Steam, set up all your time and temperatures, and then name it as steamed rice, and then hit set, and then next time you come in, you just go up, you're like, oh, I need to do my steamed rice. You already have your recipe put in, you hit start, and it starts your steamed rice. So you're going to be able to put up to 50 of those tiles, up to 8 pages of different steam, convection, any of those modes that you have. So going back, there are a few of the things that are more luxury items that you can use with a steam oven. I know I do a lot of canning and jarring at home, just like jellies and jams. When I get a bunch of fresh berries out of the garden, or during apple season, I like to make apple butter. You can go into your cleanse mode here, and you're going to be able to go in and prepare jelly and jam jars. So I line my perforated pan up with all my jelly and jam jars, put them in here, and I'll prepare them, which it'll get it up to a steam. It'll then sanitize those for you to where you're not dipping them in hot water. And then after you're done, you fill your jars, put them on preserve. It's going to get it up to 210 degrees, run about a 30-minute duration. And when you get out, your jars are going to be nice and sealed. Now, another good thing is if you have a young baby at home, that you have a steamer that you usually steam the baby bottles with to get them nice and sanitized. There's also a baby bottle setting on here to where you're going to be able to then sanitize bottles like that. Another thing that I think is another kind of luxury item, but because it does steam, you can do that, is the wellness. Under wellness, you're going to have things like hot towels, hot wraps, massage stones, your seed cushions, those cherry and grape seed cushions. You're going to be able to put those right in your steam oven and heat them up. You can make a nice lemon-scented towel for your barbecue so they can wipe their hands afterwards. You just roll up some towels, put a little lemon wedge on there. You're going to be able to do that so that the people at your house will be able to clean their hands off with that at the end of a nice barbecue rib fest that you have at your house or something like that. It's not something that you might use every day, but it's definitely another luxury item that Wolf has not looked behind. You get all that in a steam oven. Now, I always get asked the question, is there a self-clean on the oven? There is a clean, but also a steam oven is something that is very easy to clean. You can put it at 180 degrees for 15 minutes steam. It's going to steam all this, and you're going to be able to then get everything kind of wiped out because that steam will loosen up everything. Another thing is the side pieces come right out. It's just one of these wing nuts here, and your whole side piece will come out. That's something that you can put right in the dishwasher and wash right in your dishwasher. I know it's hard to get to the back of this. There are two latches, and your door will actually remove when you go in to do a little deep cleaning. And the only thing you really need for cleaning after you do that steaming is a little non-abrasive scrubby and just a little bit of light detergent to get in there and wipe it all out. There's only a little bit of buildup of water residue on the bottom. If you don't have the plum version, if you have the plum version, most of it will go down. So after use, just a little wipe out when you're using just steam, and that'll help with some of the cleaning to where you won't have to worry about doing much of a deep clean. But like I said, when you can just run a little steam, or there's actually a steam clean button to where it will walk you through how to do a steam clean. It goes through a few steps. This is also where you will get your descale. The descaling, it depends on how much you use your steam oven, but you will have to do a descale because of all the water that's going in there. It's boiling, it's steaming on the inside, and then get it injected in. You're going to have to do a descale where you will go through a duration where you'll add a Durall Swiss steam cleaner in there. It runs the cycle. It'll tell you how to do it right on your panel. It runs a cycle of descaling where you do it with the solution, and then you put water in there, and it rinses it out, and then it will be descaled. Now, one other thing I wanted to go through is some of the settings. So when you go into settings, you're going to be able to do your different languages. You can do a display lock to where you lock the display. Your water hardness is going to be in here. Your date and time is going to be in there. You're also going to be able to go ahead and change how bright your screen is. If you got a real open kitchen with a bunch of lights, you can brighten your screen. You can make the noise of when you're pressing and your alarms. You can turn that up. All of that is in your settings to where you can get all of that. On the outside here, you can see, I told you can get it in the 24-inch or the 30-inch cavity. You can also get it in all of our styles. We have the professional here, but you can also get it in the transitional or the contemporary. So if we got any questions, I want you to go ahead and type those in now. When you go into the different styles, I definitely, if there's a showroom near you, I definitely recommend that we get you into the showroom just so you can see all of the different styles and see what we can get this steam oven with, where you can place it, see the inside of this. This 30-inch steam oven really is a huge cavity. I have cooked 6 whole trussed chickens right in the steam oven simultaneously with that dual convection. It really does a great job on high temperature convection steam, getting a whole chicken nice and crispy. But then you can do more of your delicate things like a nice cake or a bread right in your steam oven. There really isn't much you can't do in the steam oven. As you can tell the way I talk about it, it's one of my favorite appliances just because of you can utilize it for any kind of cooking. You can do ribs in here, prime rib, roasted chicken, roasted pork, just about anything right in your Wolf Convection steam oven. And just to get your eyes on it, it would be great. I think we have a question.
Chris is asking,
So the question from Chris was, how often are you steaming for more than 2 hours, and does it impact the food if the steam would go off and we have to replace it? So not too often you're going to be using that full steam, 210 degrees, for more than really 30, 40 minutes because of the just steam. It's when you get down to like that sous vide, because it's using the steam mode as well. Since it's not as high of a temperature, you are going to be able to go for a longer duration. You might be able to sous vide at 140 degrees with a full water tank for more like 4 or 5 hours. That's really the only time you're going to be using that steam for that long of a duration, is if you're doing something on sous vide, like I've done sous vide 12-hour short ribs, to where it was in the package, sous vide them for 12 hours. I had them right at medium, but it had broke down all that sinew and tissue to where you wouldn't have to worry about it being very tough. So that's really when you're going to be steaming for over that. When you are steaming something, so say you are steaming something for, you didn't refill your tank because you don't have the plumb version, and it goes off, 10 minutes in, it says that you need more water. It will continue that cooking duration, it will pop it open, and it will notify you. All you have to do, as long as you notice this in the first 5 to 6 minutes, you just refill it with regular tap water. This doesn't have to be filtered or anything like that. You put it back in, and it continues cooking. So it continues that cooking process even when the water's out, because it has the little boiler in there. Then you just have to refill your tank, insert the tank back in, and it just continues going. So it doesn't hurt the food unless you were doing some kind of steaming, you were away from your convection steam oven, and you forgot to fill the tank. Maybe if you're away for 20, 30 minutes when it's telling you need water, then it's going to start to shut down. So as long as you get it within the first 5 minutes of it telling you it needs water, it continues that cooking process uninterruptedly. We got another question.
What sort of recipes require convection humid versus convection steam?
The question was, what kind of recipes may require something like convection humid instead of convection steam? So with the convection humid, there is no steam introduced into it. So it's really something that you're trying to hold moisture in without adding any. So say you're making a banana bread, that's going to be great on convection humid. It's not adding any steam to it, and those quick breads don't need the steam, but it's keeping it the moist environment in here to where you're keeping some of that moisture in. On convection steam, it's adding moisture, and it could make that bread a little bit like something like a quick bread or muffins or banana bread can make it a little bit too moist on the top. So something like that, or even some of your big roast on convection humid. Say you had a pot roast in that you usually keep a lid on and put it in your oven. You don't have to have that lid on. You just put your whole pot roast in there. It's going to keep all the steam that comes out of that inside the cavity, but it's not adding any water into the cavity. So really, it's just, I like to think of, on convection steam, your front door, if you would take this whole oven and flip it up, is almost like a lid for a crock pot. You got another question?
So the question is, can you proof croissants in the convection steam oven?
The question was, can you proof croissants in the convection steam oven? Yes, you're going to be able to proof your croissants in there as well. You can set your proof. You're going to have, you go to proof here. You're going to be able to set your temperature. So say you don't usually proof your bread or your croissants at 90 degrees. You're going to be able to have a temperature range of 77 to 104 degrees on that proof. So something with that a little bit more butter in it, you can lower that temperature a little bit to where you can get a nice proof on any of your breads. First, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today for this introduction of the Wolf Convection Steam Oven. And then I really would, if you had any more questions, put them in and we can get to those. But I'd like to, if you're close to one of the showrooms, I would highly recommend that you get into one of those and you can really see these and see the different styles so that you can get in and make your decision. Thank you guys for tuning in today, and come back to the culinary scene for more things like this.